Yo, what is up guys, your boy IzuKage here with a Halloween special, and this is gonna be what if Naruto was Ghost Rider. So the main Ghost Rider I'll be basing Naruto off of is Johnny Blaze, since I'm the most familiar with him from the Ghost Rider movies. But with that said, a Discord link and a link to some fire anime merch in the description. Now with that said, let's just get right into the what if. So we'd start this what if off not at Naruto's birth but further ahead in time to when Naruto is fighting Haku. So Naruto, like an idiot, still runs into Haku's demon ice mirrors, and Sasuke said, "Why would you come in here? You would be a lot more helpful from outside." Naruto shrugged, but Sasuke quickly pushed Naruto because Haku threw some senbon in their direction. And Naruto, he got up and said, "Shadow Clone Jutsu!" And he tried overwhelming Haku's jutsu, but it didn't work. And Haku moved at blinding speeds, dispelling all of the clones. And the fog from Zabuza's jutsu it keeps getting thicker, so they can barely see anything. And meanwhile their fight is going on, Kakashi and Zabuza are fighting it out while Sakura is protecting Tazuna. I'm not sure what she's gonna do with a kunai, but she's trying to protect Tazuna. So back with Sasuke, and he launched a fireball at the demon ice mirrors, trying to melt it, but it had zero effect. And Naruto said, "If I can't defeat some ice ninja, how will I become the Hokage?" And he made a hand sign and shouted, "Shadow Clone Jutsu!" And almost 1,000 clones ran at the mirrors, trying to break it and get through. But Haku again dispelled them all. And their efforts continued for a good 10 minutes, but everything they did would be countered by Haku. Even when Sasuke unlocked his Sharingan, it didn't help much. It allowed him to dodge Haku's senbon attacks, but Haku threw them at Naruto, who couldn't. So Sasuke, he had to jump in the way to protect him. And Naruto looked at Sasuke and said, "You hated me, but why?" And Sasuke, he fell over onto the ground, and Naruto quickly tried waking him up, trying to do anything. But with his last breath, he said, "Stop crying, you idiot. The man who killed my clan is still out there. Make sure he pays." And Sasuke slowly fades away into the afterlife. And Naruto, he was silent, and he slammed his hands into the ground and said, "It's all your fault. I'll kill you." And then everything around Naruto stopped. The birds flying overhead stopped flapping, Kakashi's fight stopped, and Naruto, he was looking around confused. And then from behind him, someone said, "You know you won't beat him, right?" And Naruto flicked his head around to see where it came from, but no one was there. And the voice continued to say, "I can help you defeat him." Naruto, he was freaked out of his mind, but what this mysterious voice was saying was very intriguing, so he said, "How?" And then flames appeared in front of Naruto and formed a piece of paper. This mysterious voice said, "Mark this with blood and you'll receive powers far beyond anyone in this world." And Naruto looked back to Sasuke's dead body, then to the paper and said, "I'll sign it, but you need to show me your face." And this mysterious voice went silent for a few seconds. Then in a more human voice, Naruto heard someone to his left say, "So do we have a deal?" And this man looks like any ordinary ninja in the Leaf Village, and Naruto said, "But how would you help me?" The ninja said, "I have the ability to stop time. Do you really doubt me?" And Naruto, he looks around and everything is paused, so he bites into his thumb and blood starts dripping onto the paper, and the contract burns into flames. And the ninja said, "Good." Then time resumed and Haku was ready for Naruto's next move, and she watched as smoke started coming off of Naruto and his head was engulfed in fire. Haku was confused and concerned on what she was witnessing, and then Naruto's skin started burning off and he screamed in pain. All that was left after this transformation was Naruto's skull, and the rest of his body turned into skeleton and it was lit on fire. Chains rose from the ground and wrapped around Naruto's arm, and his orange outfit turned black. Haku was scared of what was right in front of him, and the heat coming off of him was melting his ice mirrors. So Haku tried using his Senbon, but it didn't affect Naruto, and he started twirling around his chains, like throwing it around like a lasso. And when Haku came out of the mirror, Naruto wrapped his chains around him, which started burning Haku on contact. Then he pulled the chains, ripping Haku apart. Zabuza, sensing this because he can sense everything that's going on in his fog, he shouted out Haku's name, and when he was distracted, Kakashi had an open shot for his Chidori, shoving it through Zabuza's chest. Once the fog cleared, Kakashi saw this walking, burning skeleton. Then his attention turned to Sakura, who was crying over Sasuke's body. But before he could help, Gato and his men arrived, and almost 1,000 mercenaries climbed onto the bridge, ready to take down Team 7. And Kakashi was ready to protect his team, but this skeleton person started walking up to the group of mercenaries. And seeing this thing come towards them, 10 of them ran towards it, and one with a sword tried cutting Naruto, but when the sword came in contact with him, it started melting, and Naruto looked at the man and punched him off the bridge, and everyone backed up out of fear. They all made way for him to walk right through to Gato, and he was terrified, and he said, "What are you doing? Get him!" So 20 mercenaries rushed in trying to kill Naruto, but he turned around and opened his palms, summoning hellfire, burning all of them to a crisp. Now he turned back around and points to Gato, who's sweating bullets, and Naruto says, "Your soul is tainted by the blood of the innocent. Feel their pain." Naruto grabs Gato and stares into his eyes, and he starts screaming as every bit of pain he's caused, he will continue to feel for all of eternity. And Naruto turned back to the group of mercenaries, who wished they'd stayed home that day, and Naruto raised both his hands into the air and said, "Raining Hellfire." And as the name of the move would suggest, hellfire starts raining down onto all of them, and this flame not only burnt their physical bodies, but it burns their soul itself. This kills all of Gato's men, and Naruto, he starts walking back towards Kakashi, stepping on the dead bodies as he does. So as he is getting closer to Kakashi, he stands his ground, but he's ready to attack. But what he wasn't expecting was Naruto falls over right in front of him, and the flames all over his body extinguish, and Naruto turns back into his normal self. So 1 week later, Naruto wakes up in the hospital, and when he opens his eyes, he sees nothing around him. There's no one there, and he tries getting up and limping over to the hallway. And when he does get to the hallway, Naruto is seen by some nurses, and they run the opposite direction, heading to go call the Hokage. So about 2 minutes pass of Naruto just wandering around the hospital hallways, and right outside, Kakashi is there with Hiruzen, who has summoned Monkey King Enma because they're expecting a fight. And from what Kakashi explained, it's not gonna be easy. So Kakashi lifts his headband and the two rush into the hospital and spread out to find Naruto. And it wasn't long until Hiruzen and Kakashi come across Naruto, who's just looking out of a window, and Kakashi calls out to Naruto, who turns around and says, "Oh, hey Kakashi." And Kakashi responds, "You should go back and get some rest, Naruto." Who says, "I can't. I have to hunt down the people who killed Sasuke's clan. It was his last wish to me." And Kakashi said, "But Naruto, Sasuke is alive." Haku's Senbon didn't hit anything vital and he made a full recovery. And a sense of relief washed over Naruto, and as instructed, he went back to his room where he would rest for another week. So while Naruto is out, Kakashi meets with his team at the training grounds and he says the Chunin exams are coming up, but with Naruto out of it, our team can't enter. We need a full squad to do so. And Sasuke and Sakura started to protest, but from the trees they were standing under, Naruto was there and he said, "Seems you guys need me after all," and he jumps down and Kakashi says, "Shouldn't you be in the hospital?" And Naruto, he cracked his knuckles saying he's completely fine and ready for the Chunin exams. And Kakashi was hesitant but said, "Okay, but we lost a week of training due to you being in the hospital, so the exams are next week." And with that, Team 7 began their training for the Chunin exams. But during this time, whenever it would be nighttime, like when Naruto is back at his home, he would never remember himself going to bed. He would just pass out randomly and wake up in his bed. It was weird, but he never questioned it. And nearing the Chunin exams, about a day before it, Hiruzen, he would start getting a bunch of reports of a skeleton like harassing people, killing some villagers, and his mind immediately goes to when Kakashi, he returned from the Land of Waves with Naruto, and how he explained his transformation and how he took down Gato and all of his men with this fire ability. So he would assign an Anbu to spy on Naruto to make sure he doesn't do anything too out of hand, because from all the intelligence he and Kakashi has gathered, it seems like Naruto, he doesn't have control or recollection of what happens in his Ghost Rider form. So finally the Chunin exams come around and Naruto and his team walk into the academy, and as soon as they do, the door is blocked by a bunch of students trying to get into the rooms for the Chunin exams. But not Kakashi, what? Sakura, she immediately realized that there was a genjutsu, because this is like her affinity, so she would know that it's a genjutsu, and she tells everyone, so they go upstairs. But as they were doing this, Team Guy realized that how quickly this team noticed that this wasn't the actual room, that it was a genjutsu. And so they followed Team 7 as they were going up to the actual exam room, and before they entered the door to like start the first stage, they would get stopped by Lee, who would ask Sasuke for a 1v1 because, you know, Sasuke, he was still the rookie of the year and everyone thought of him as basically the strongest person in his year. And of course, Sasuke, who would agree to this fight. And for, you know, Tenten and Neji, they're trying to tell Lee that this fight isn't worth it, he's not gonna gain anything from it. But Lee, he wants to fight. So before they were about to start, Lee would say, "How about we only use taijutsu?" And Sasuke, him being dumb, he agrees to this. And when the match starts, Sasuke, he is immediately overwhelmed by Lee's taijutsu skills, and even when he activates his Sharingan, it does a little to help him, only like helps him dodge a few attacks. It's really nothing major, but in the end, Lee, he would completely overwhelm Sasuke and he would be defeated, without Lee even needing to use Primary Lotus or any of those forbidden techniques. So with this defeat, Team 7 enters the room for the first stage of the Chunin exams, and when they enter, everyone's eyes turn onto them. And Naruto, he was a bit freaked out that everyone was doing this, but they all just went to a corner and tried to, you know, stay to themselves. But in that corner, there was this guy with like silverish hair, and he was spinning cards to find out information on people. And Team 7, they thought it was an interesting idea, so they went over to this guy who we know as Kabuto, and they realized that he can bring up any stat on anyone in the room right now. So they asked about those weird sand ninjas. They seem a bit off, especially that one with a gourd on his back. So when Kabuto, he spins the cards, he's impressed by Gaara's stats, and he says he has never been injured on any of his missions. And with that, a chill runs down all of their spines. But before it could get more in-depth, Ibiki, he walks into the room and says, "Alright everyone, go grab a seat. We're starting the exams." So everyone goes to their assigned seats, so they're like spaced out from their team members. And then Ibiki, he starts explaining the rules for the first stage of the Chunin exams. And he's saying there will be 10 questions. 9 of them are on the papers that will be handed out shortly, while the other, like the last question, will be asked at the end. But if anyone is caught cheating, them and their entire team will be kicked out of the exams. Now, with that said, he starts handing out the test papers, and when Naruto gets his, he is starting to get worried because none of these questions make sense. And when Ibiki, he returns to the front of the class, he says, "You have an hour, begin." So Naruto, he's trying to pencil some random stuff in, trying to figure it out, while everyone in the room around him, they're using their different creative ways to cheat. Like some are using the mirrors on the ceiling to turn and look at each other's papers, while Sasuke, he's using his Sharingan to mimic the movements of someone's pencil to write down their answers. So a bunch of actually really unique ways of cheating, and I actually really like this scene. It was really cool. So after the hour is complete, Naruto, he has nothing on his paper, and Hinata, she did try to offer some answers to Naruto, but he didn't accept it. So what are you gonna do? So with that, Ibiki, he says, "Now it's time for the 10th question. But what you must know is if you get this question wrong, you will be barred from taking the Chunin exams ever again if you get this question wrong." And everyone, they started to get worried because what if they do get it wrong? They'll never become Chunins. And some of them really think it's just better to just take another year to prepare so they might not fail what seems like an exam that will affect them for their entire life. So from the test, they lost around 30% of the original class, and from this question, they lost another 30 because some students did not want to miss this opportunity, so a lot of them left. And with that, Ibiki says, "Now, time for the 10th question." And after a bit of silence, Ibiki, he said, "Well, you all pass." And they were a bit confused because they didn't even get the question yet. And Ibiki, he starts explaining that it was just a mental test to see who would stick through and who would leave, and they pass. Some people, they didn't think it was fair, but what do you gotta do? And with that, Anko, she jumps through the window and sends glass shards flying all over the room. And Ibiki, some land in his face and stuff, and he doesn't even want to talk to Anko anymore because he has told her multiple times that she should just take the door, but she refuses to listen. So he just grabs all of his papers and walks out. And Anko, she's looking at him like, what's his problem? Anyways, I need you all to meet me out by the Forest of Death right now. And then she jumps back through the window and starts heading towards the Forest of Death. And with that, Team 7, as well as all the other remaining teams, they head out as well. And once they arrive, they see Anko on this massive stone. And she starts explaining the rules for the second stage of the Chunin exams. And she says this forest is one of the most deadly in the entire world. Animals are 20 times their size anywhere else in the land of fire. So it is not something they shall be taking lightly. What they'll need to do is to traverse this wild landscape and hunt down teams to hopefully get their scrolls. And she explains the scroll system like you will be assigned a scroll, either a heaven or earth scroll, and whatever you're assigned, you need to find a team and take the opposite of your scroll. So if you get an earth scroll, you need to find a team and pray that they have a heaven scroll. And with that, she sends everyone off to the tents where they write down their names and they're given a certain type of scroll. and they go to a gate that they're assigned to go into the forest at. Now, about 5 minutes of waiting later, Anko, she comes out on the loudspeakers and says, "Go!" And with that, all the teams rush into the forest, and Team 7 in particular, they start jumping from branch to branch, and Naruto is talking with his team like, how are they gonna track down anyone else? But before they could even get like any thoughts out, a massive snake comes and breaks the trees they're jumping off of. And well, luckily they all jumped out of the way quickly. But Naruto, he was wondering, what the heck is this thing? But this massive snake wasn't stopping, and it slammed down on the group where the team was. But Naruto, he wasn't fast enough and he got squashed. So the snake turns its attention to the other two teammates, and while it's trying to kill Naruto's teammates, Naruto himself, since he was passed out, Zarathos started to take control, and Naruto's skin started peeling off, revealing only his skeleton, and he got up and he turns his eyes to the snake, and with his chains he whips it around and throws it at the snake and pulls on it. But the snake, it didn't like break off like a regular snake. When Naruto pulled on it, it dispelled like a summoning. But with that, Zarathos wasn't just going to calm down and let Naruto take control. He wants full control over Naruto. So he says out loud, "Mephisto, permanently bind this body to me, and I can rid this world of evil." With this, flames started covering Naruto, and from them, the Ghost Rider had a new appearance. It was more like Robbie Reeves' Ghost Rider on screen right now, if you're not exactly sure what it looks like. So with this new look, Naruto then turned to Sakura, and he grabs her and stares into her eyes, and he says, "Learn the pain you have caused to others." And with this, Sakura's soul was completely trapped, and she was experiencing all the pain she's caused to anyone, including the pain she's caused to Naruto, for all of eternity. And Naruto, he turned to Sasuke and he tried running, but he couldn't outrun the Ghost Rider. And when Naruto caught Sasuke, he stared into his eyes, but Sasuke, he wasn't evil. So Naruto, he let him go. And Sasuke, he ran away because like his neck even started to burn from being that close to the Ghost Rider. Now with that, the Ghost Rider summoned his bike, and from hellfire, it rose up, and Naruto, he mounted it and he started riding throughout the forest, burning down trees as he's like riding through, and every team he comes across, he judges if they should even remain alive, and a lot of teams would die from this, leaving only 10% of the original participants. Most of the teams that were left were from the Leaf Village. Like Gaara's team, they were killed. Orochimaru's team, like Team Dosu, they were killed. And with that, Naruto, he would ride up to the village gates and look at the village and said, "This village should be burnt to the ground." And Naruto started revving up his motorcycle and started riding through the streets, using his chains to kill people as he's driving through. And Naruto, he does a complete massacre, like the Uchiha Massacre 2.0, but this is the entire village. No one is being spared. And with Naruto's immense strength, nobody can stop him. Literally no one. Hiruzen, he would try using Monkey King Enma to stop Naruto. This would only slow him down, because Naruto with his hellfire, like nothing can stop it. No water style, nothing they do. Well, maybe they could seal it, but with this short of notice, they couldn't come up with a powerful enough seal unless someone is willing to like risk their life. And even if they know the Reaper Death Seal, it would take a lot to start sealing away all of this fire. Naruto, he couldn't get to everyone, but once he was finished with everyone that was in the general area, he started raining down hellfire all across the village, and with no one in his way, the Leaf Village was no more. But the Leaf Village was not the only village filled with sinners. There were more to go, and the Ghost Rider would never stop. And that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Thank you guys for sticking around all the way to the end of the video, and tell me what you think in the comments below. Was the story good? Did you like it? You know, stuff like that. And if you like the video, and if you like my content in general, consider subscribing, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next What If.
And remember, like and subscribe. Or else.